Jenna with the D.D.N.O system, and today I wanted to walk you guys through my art therapy process. I stumbled upon this and it has really helped me have some breakthroughs in trauma processing. So I'm going to share it, but I have a disclaimer. If you are early in your therapy journey, you don't want to be really engaging with trauma processing until you can sit with an emotion. That kind of a key step to be at before you can be interacting with these issues. So I'd been in therapy for about 9 months and was able to sit with an emotion, but I didn't really know what to do with it other than just kind of cry through it. I had a memory in particular that had been bothering me. So I went to the store knowing nothing about art. I draw stick figures. I bought acrylic paints because I knew you can paint over those. I brought brushes, sponges, any cheap stuff that I thought might be good to get out an emotion. My husband and I were going on vacation, and was like, this will be perfect. I'll have uninterrupted time. I really recommend that you have a peaceful environment for doing this. If you have some soothing music or tea, definitely have tissues, and give yourself a block of time. For me, it usually takes 3 hours if I'm going to process straight through. You definitely will be taking breaks in this process. 1, to let the paints dry, and 2, to kind of let yourself just really sit with what's been brought up. So this works whether you're trying to process an emotion, or if it is a memory, or in one of my instances, it was when Jennifer Adriana had first shown up. She just wouldn't stop screaming. I just had this screaming in the background of my day-to-day life, and it was so awful, and I couldn't get her to talk with me and interact with me about it. She was just screaming. So doing this can help alters that are mute or aren't able to communicate what they're experiencing. It uses a different center of the brain than speech does. And I found that it really has helped propel me forward. So start, and here's a key: don't overthink this. Just intuit it. Just kind of feel your way through this process. So I started my first time with a memory. And so I don't think I have pictures from the beginning of this one, but what I drew was the memory. I drew some stick figures up here, some stick figures down here, and then I covered the canvas with the colors of the emotions. So it was dark. Your painting doesn't have to even be something anybody else can understand. The only key here is it has to be true. Pretty, accurate, none of that matters. It has to be true. So drawing the stick figures and their placements in my memory, drawing the emotions, painting the emotions and the colors that those felt like to me, was the first step on that canvas. I have pictures from my latest one, and so I'm going to try and put those up here. With Jennifer Adriana, I had promised her, I was like, this will help you if you will just work with me here. So the first pass she did was just like blacks and blues, and I thought it looked pretty, but for her it was just this darkness and loneliness is what she was conveying. She had picked a brush to do that. If you add water to the acrylics, you'll get more of a runny effect. If you want it thick and gobby, then you add much less water. And then that was just the first layer on both of those. Emotions are complex, and you're going to do this layer by layer. So sometimes I just let them dry naturally. Other times I give it 10, 20 minutes, and then I put a blow dryer to it so that I can paint over it the next layer of emotions. But once you have that first layer, give yourself a break. Let yourself just kind of feel that. Acknowledge that this is what that looks like, that it feels like. Then I go back for the next layer of that emotion, because there's always another layer. If it's a scene, I might say, okay, so how do I feel looking at this scene right now? In this case, you can see the reds and oranges showing through in the background, because that was the color I felt for anger. With Jennifer Adriana, the next thing she painted over top of just the darkness and the loneliness was what kind of looked like fire. It was this hot, raw pain. She used fingers and would claw through, like to dab and claw, and just to try and really express what that felt like. And I'm pretty sure I remember crying and screaming and all this expression along with what's getting put onto the canvas. Like I said, I do this when I get blocked because it's a lot and it takes a lot out of me, but it works. So it's worth it. Then once you bleed that out onto the canvas, let that dry, take a break, get a drink, just kind of breathe, and then come back. Because emotions are really complex and there's probably more. For me, I always sit back down, I look at it, and then I kind of ask into myself, okay, what next? Whatever comes up, that's what gets painted. If it's an emotion or another image, I take that. If it's an image, I try and kind of stick figure it out. If it's an emotion, go, okay, what color is this emotion? What shape is this emotion? What action is this emotion? Is it dripping? Is it hard? And then I paint that next layer. On this one, the next thing that came out was like a vomit of like green and bile and just browns and greens and just waste onto the canvas. And it looked horrendous. It looked so ugly. It was perfect. Perfect. Because that's how I felt about that thing. And I sat there and I looked at it and it felt right. It felt true. That's when you know you're ready to move on to the next step. With Jennifer Adriana's painting, the next step was a person in the middle of all that fire, a person alone, and that was her. In the midst of all that fiery pain. And then she felt like, this is what I feel. So I said, okay, once you get to that point, the next part is what they call reframing, which I didn't know that. I just kind of stumbled upon it. But it's really crucial. Once it's true, once you look at it and you're like, that's it, you go, okay, now what? For me, I like to ask, what would I like life to be like now? Or what would I like to come out of this? So for my first one, I was looking at it and it was just horrible. And it felt so true. And I was crying and I thought, how can anything good come out of this? I don't even know what I would like life to look like going from here. And there was a small voice inside of me that said, plant a garden in it. And all that waste and disgust, plant a garden in it. And I thought, life. I would like there to be life from this. And so I thought, okay, so what colors would that look like? Naturally green, but life is also, for me, brights and yellows and whites. And it was so hard for me to put white over top of that canvas at all, but it felt right. It felt true. And bit by bit, I planted a garden on it. And I really see that's a leaf. That's about the extent of my art. But the shape felt right and it looked right. And when I was done, I saw something beautiful and hopeful. And I was shocked that anything beautiful could come out of that. And it was really my first big breakthrough with my parts. After that, I started having memories come back. I really started to move forward with my trauma processing. With Jennifer Adriana, when I asked her, what would you like life to be like? What would you like to come out of this? She couldn't even think about anything like good coming, any good in life, nothing. And so the first thing she drew was just a heart on the canvas. Just maybe not to be bleeding and broken. And I was like, okay, but that's not like what you would like. What would you hope for? And she said, I would like to be free. So, okay, what would that look like? What color would that look like? So she picked out whites and blues and reds and yellows, and she took the white and watered it down and started flinging it with her fingers and with the brush onto the canvas, just flinging white. And eventually out of that came the shape of a bird. And I was like, oh, it's a phoenix, because originally it was all this fire. And out of that came this. And I was shocked. Okay, so this is, I think, the best thing that I've ever painted. Oh, I can't take credit for it, actually. She painted it. But the start, it wasn't pretty, and it's never the goal. You can't get stuck in, oh, it looks horrible. That's what it needs to look like. It needs to look like what you need it to. And in the end, this is what freedom looks like. And I can't look at it without feeling hopeful. And after that, Jennifer Adriana was able to start moving forward. It got her out of in the trauma. She was able to stop screaming in the background all the time because she was no longer stuck in that spot. She was able to start interacting with our life. And even that was difficult. But it was a step into our life and out of that thing that had her stuck. And when we look at that, like, the whole system feels the hope in it. So I want to encourage you guys to try it. If you're at a spot where you are working on trauma and are able to do that, it's really, really healing. And I would love to hear anybody's experiences in the comments. You can, if you can upload pictures in the comments, and I don't even know if you can, but I would love to see. I would love to see those if that's possible. So thank you guys for watching. Good luck with this. And yeah, like or subscribe for more videos. Bye.